Nokta Makro Detectors. Today, I want to share some news with you on the Simplex Plus. We're actually, this is going to be a little surprise, but we're actually going to be releasing another software update for the Simplex Plus today. This is going to be version 2.78, okay? And I'll try to explain you the reason why we're given this update. Now, part of the update that we did in version 2.76 and 2.77 was the increase in the depths of IDs, meaning where the device is given an ID, at what depth the device is given an ID for a given target. Now, I would say the majority of the users have been loving the extra depth for the IDs, but some customers, I would say especially more inexperienced ones, have been having a hard time adjusting to the new ID, how the device is given IDs and how they're getting IDs, the stability of IDs and all that. And please, you need to understand that as the depth, is increasing, where the device is giving an ID, the stability will not be the same. So it's like a give and take situation, okay? And many experienced users actually know this, but some of the inexperienced users, and also the like many actually experienced users, do not really depend on IDs alone. They listen to the tones and they kind of make a judgment based on tone and ID. But there are many users who are trying to look at the IDs only and trying to figure out what the target is. And once they start getting these like jumpy IDs, we say they get frustrated. They think that there's something wrong with their detector. So we actually put on our website a link where we gave an option to customers to go back to 2.68, because that's what they have been requiring. Please let us go back to 2.68. And I've been personally monitoring these emails, and the more I read these emails, because we ask the question before we send them the 2.68, we tell them, okay, what's the reason you want to go back to 2.68? And the majority of them have been saying, oh, my IDs are jumping. And then they also, we asked for videos. So I got some videos where some customers were comparing the Simplex Plus to certain models out there, with very, very limited depths, okay? Like beginner machines. Now, you need to understand Simplex Plus, although it is sold at this price point, it doesn't have the depth or the performance of a beginner's machine, guys. It has the depth and performance of a higher-end machine. So for a beginner machine, okay, to give a very stable ID is normal, okay, because that same machine will not detect, I would say, more than 50% of the targets that Simplex will detect because of its depth performance. So when Simplex detects a target, a deep target, if it's deep and if it's at fringe depths, the IDs may be jumpy. This will affect the ID stability of the device. There are also, of course, other reasons, why the jumpies may get, why the IDs, may get jumpy, but I'm not going to go into those. So we've been thinking about, people going back to 268, which I personally sent some customers the older version 2.68. But the more we think about this, if the majority of the people are going back to 268 just because of the ID stability, and they don't want to see jumpy IDs. We said, why not? Because we don't want them to actually give up, sacrifice the other features, the other, benefits of the 2.76 or 2.77. So what we decided is to give another update, 2.78, okay? To people, please, I'm underlining this, to those customers who are not happy with the ID performance of their detector after they upgraded. So these people, this update is for those customers only. If you update it to 2.76 and 2.77, you're loving the extra mode, you're loving the mute button, you're loving the extra depth, but you don't like how the device is providing IDs at what depths and how stable they are, blah blah. You can now install this update 2.78, and your ID stability and your ID depth will go back to where they were in 2.68. But you will still have all the other new features of the 2.76 and 2.77. I hope this makes sense. So if you are happy with everything about the 2.77, with the ID depths and ID stability, or the 2.76, please do not install this update. You don't need to install this update. This is only for people who have been emailing us, who have been trying to go back to 2.68, who have been asking for this previous version. So we're giving them an option now to enjoy the extra features, yet go back to the ID stability and the ID depths of the 2.68. I want to clarify one more thing, okay, on the 2.78. Okay, when I said the ID depths will be restored back to 2.68 levels, we're talking about the depth where the detector gives an ID. We're not talking about the overall depth or the sensitivity of the device. That's not changing, okay? So, meaning, if, let's say, you were detecting a target, let's say at 10 inches in 2.77, you will still detect it at 10 inches in 2.78, meaning the device will still provide the tone, okay? But when it comes to ID, now, depending on the depth of the target as well as other factors, the orientation of the target, whether there's another target next to it or not, in 2.68 and the 2.78, the device may not give an ID, okay? Or, in 2.77, it will give an ID. It may be stable or not based on the factors that I just mentioned. So I hope this is clear. So your detection depth, guys, is the same in 2.78 versus 2.77. Nothing is being changed there, because I'm seeing some comments saying, no, I don't want to give up my depth. You're not giving up the depth. You're just giving up the ID depth, okay? So you will still get a tone, okay, for the target, okay, at the same depths, but the ID may differ. Now, in one, you may get an ID. In the other one, you may not get an ID. But like I said, these are all dependent on the actual depth of the target, the orientation of the target, okay? I hope this is clear, okay? You're not giving up your depth, guys. And this jumpy ID, like I said, jumpy IDs, they do not only depend on depths, they also depend on other factors, such as the orientation of the target, such as, you know, the ground conditions sometimes, or like other targets next to the target, you know, you're detecting. So don't think that it's all about the depth of the target, which depth is a factor, but there are other factors. Okay, that's all I wanted to share. So I wanted to give an update on the 2.78 update explanation. Thank you again. And yeah, please share this as well. I don't want people to think that if they switch to update to 2.78, I don't want people to think that they're losing their sensitivity of the detector. They're not, okay? Sensitivity level 6, they're all the same in both versions, okay? Thank you guys. Bye-bye.